Thank you very much, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I will not be sticking to the topic strictly. Let me just briefly introduce myself. My name is Rashmi Arun Shami. I am in charge of the elementary education sector in the government. So I will just be talking broadly about what our challenges are and how technology can help us find some solutions. If there are people in this room who can help us find solutions, we'll be very happy. I know that there are a large number of you in this room who are also from the private sector. I would also be interested in knowing how you are solving these problems in your institutions. So, very, very briefly, the Right to Education Act, as you know, has been passed by the Government of India, and it aims at covering all children between 6 to 14 years of age. And the Act insists or guarantees each child free education and compulsory education up to the age of 14. The challenge here is to ensure universal enrollment and to make sure that all the children get into school and they are able to complete the required number of schooling. The challenge is also to ensure equity and inclusion. So I'm sure that technology can play a large role in these challenges for us, but access is more or less a problem that is resolved now because there is near universal enrollment now. But the challenge is to keep the child in school, and once the child is in school, to ensure that the school's processes are equitable, that all children are treated equally, and that they are inclusive enough to ensure that children who are differently able are finding a place for themselves and they don't have a problem. The other issue which is of greater concern is quality. As I said, the access issue is now more or less resolved, but quality remains a huge concern because we have in Madhya Pradesh, we have 1 lakh primary schools in the government sector, another 28,000 in the middle school sector. So you can imagine 1.28 lakh schools we have, and it is really not possible for us to ensure uniform standards of schooling in all these schools, mainly because a large number of these schools have been, actually they were education guarantee shalas that had been started earlier. So they have community teachers who are actually of a very, very low education capacity and who really haven't had much training. So when we look at capacity building of teachers, this becomes a really great concern for us, that we have teachers who in many cases are just maybe high school or if we are very lucky, class 12 pass, and these teachers are teaching tribal students, they're teaching scheduled caste students, they're actually in the most remote areas where quality becomes a greater concern, because this is in any case the most disadvantaged sector, and it is here that our least capable teachers are located, not in terms of ability to work but in terms of qualifications. So when Madam, as very rightly she was mentioning about vocational education or capacity building of teachers, the problem starts from there, that we don't have enough good teachers who can build students up to a level from where you can split them into, okay, this is a child who will go into academics and this is a child who will go into vocational training, because the basic thing is not into place. For technology, what was being discussed in the morning, as Mr. Hari Ranjan Rao mentioned, the technology is very easy in Indore or Bhopal or Jabalpur or Gwalior. I mean, in the cities, it's not a problem. So for those of you who are from the private schools who are located in Indore, Bhopal, Jabalpur, for you it's a non-issue. All you have to do is get a computer or a tablet or a television or a whatever, and you can just start using it. For us, the problem is that A, there is no power. There is just not enough power in the rural areas. B, as Mr. Rao mentioned in the morning, there is just not enough connectivity. And C, if we have everything in place, we don't have trained teachers. So once again, the problem of capacity building of teachers, that if I don't have a teacher who knows how to operate the system and who knows how to use it well, how do we do it? So this morning we were having a discussion about how the government of UK will probably be coming, government of UK, right? It will be coming in to help us with teacher education. Government of India and Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan also have a lot of teacher education schemes. NUPA does a lot of work in that. But still, this remains a huge, huge concern for us. Coming to vocational education, Madam just gave the example of Korea. I had the opportunity of visiting South Korea as a part of our mid-career training a couple of years ago. What I noticed, and we were taken to see one of the vocational education schools. The interesting thing about Korea is that right after class 8, they assess teachers, students, and they say, okay, these are the bright ones who we want should go into higher education, and they should look at, masters and PhD, etc., etc. And these are the children who we feel would do better in a vocational stream. So right from class 8, they split them. And in the vocational schools, they give the best of facilities. I have seen ITIs, and I was amazed to see that school in Seoul, the school that we were taken to. That was better than any of our good private schools. It had a fantastic building, and it had the best of equipment. And they had all kinds of skills for all kinds of students. There were students who were, Korea is a big place for wig making. They do a lot of wigs, and traditionally it has been like that. So they had one set which was doing just that. They had other people who were doing simpler things. And then they had people who were doing computer hardware, cutting edge kind of thing. So unlike India, where I feel very strongly, sometimes vocational education only means low skill, low capacity, low earning occupations. Every time we talk about higher paying occupations, we only look at engineers and doctors, etc., etc. When we talk about vocational education, we sort of assume that, okay, we are preparing, low quality workers for ourselves and for the rest of the world now. So our demographic advantage, we are looking at, okay, we are going to supply workers to the rest of the world, which to my mind is I think it's a fundamentally wrong step. What we should really be looking at is certainly vocational education, because that is the need of the hour, but vocational education of a higher quality, which not only gives us basic skilled people with levels of basic skills, but you also need people with higher levels of skills. Because if you want to be cutting edge, if you want to be the best in the world, then you need people of higher skills. And that is where the challenge lies, because again I go back to what Madam just said, Ms. Gupta just said, that the challenge is finding quality teachers. How do you build the quality of teachers for vocational education, because they're simply not there. For regular schools, we find very hard to bring in teachers, to bring in trainers who can train and build the capacities of teachers. Vocational education is a greater challenge. But I'm sure that a lot of work is being done. Mr. Shivagunde will be, I'm sure, talking about that also. And many of you, I'm sure, in the private sector are also doing a lot of work in that. Couple of other issues besides vocational education, which I thought I would be interested in knowing from some of you, maybe during your speech, maybe after this session during lunchtime, would be on how you are tackling the problem of ensuring that your children, particularly maybe class 4 to class 8 children, how do you ensure that they understand abstract concepts through the use of technology? We have a system and we have a setup called the Head Start schools, which do a lot of good work, but I know that the private schools are way ahead now. So I just want to I want to know what kind of technologies you are using, how you are using. Do you really feel that technology makes a difference, or you just feel that a good teacher can, with the use of maybe just simple models and teaching learning material, have a greater advantage, or do you really feel that no, having a computer or a television or a animated program, because I know a lot of people come to me with animated programs telling me that this is what you should be buying and using because a lot of other people are doing. So I really would be interested in knowing how you people are doing that. And since I am here, I can't resist saying this because it is important for the, and because you have a session on RTE at the end of the day. Just some things that I don't know, I think you all know, the private school people, but nevertheless, let me emphasize this. By April 2013, you have to make sure that everything that is in the schedule of the Act is in place. So in terms of infrastructure, I think you won't have a problem. In terms of pupil-teacher ratio, probably also you will not have a problem. What you need to very seriously look at is, are your teachers trained? Because the Right to Education Act talks about having trained D.Ed teachers, not B.Ed, it talks about D.Ed. For class 1 to 5, it has to be D.Ed. So if you have a B.Ed teacher who is teaching class 1 to 5, then that's not good enough. It doesn't fulfill the mandate of the Act. So you have to look at this, that all your teachers who are taking these younger classes have to be trained D.Ed teachers by 2015. You have that little window there. So, and we are from the Raj Shiksha Kendra trying to put together a 6-month course. Hopefully that should be ready in another month or so. So for all those teachers who are trained B.Ed teachers but who are in any case still doing the D.Ed, who are not D.Ed trained, they can just do this 6-month course and it will be equivalent. So you will not have a problem. So I request you to take this factor also into account. And with that I will close what I have to say, and I look forward to listening to this.